The Long Road by Wolfland. Ever since its final evolution, Agron had taken a shine to gardening. It was always on the lookout for berry trees during their travels, and after they'd picked the wild crop, it was careful to always plant a berry before they went on their way, to be sure there would be another harvest for the next traveler. Their track through the orchard was no different. Agron took the lead through the rows, snout raised and sniffing the whole way, determined to find the best and juiciest berries of the bunch. Even though his nose was not as sensitive as his Pokemon's, Steven still found himself breathing deep amongst the many fragrant smells that filled the air. Just like that brief moment in Verdant Turf, he felt an aura of relaxation pour over his whole being, and everything melted away. The League Challenge, Metang's evolution, his father's company, they all became distant memories as he watched Cradilly crane her neck skyward and pluck a plump, pink berry from one of the trees. Cradling her prize in her tendrils, she gave the berry a cursory sniff before taking a bite. Trilling with glee, she hurriedly downed the rest of the berry before plucking another and offering it to Steven. The flesh was soft and springy in his hands, and the first bite sent sweet juice dribbling down his chin. It was a delicious flavor, but the berry was far too large for him to finish on his own. He passed the berry off to Metang, who also took a bite, but seemed less impressed than Cradilly had. Steven shrugged. He knew not every Pokemon liked every flavor of berry. They'd just have to peruse the orchard until they found one Metang liked best. Steven soon discovered his Pokemon had a wide variety of tastes. While Agron had yet to be disappointed by any berry they tried, its favorite ended up being a hard, spiny berry that Steven couldn't even swallow, it was too spicy. Armaldo also ended up liking sweet berries like Cradilly, and proudly found and devoured the largest berry in the whole orchard, which turned out to be a Watmel, according to the sign at the foot of the tree. Cladle took a liking to the more bitter berries, especially ones with gourd-like skin and hard, dry flesh. And Steven already knew Skarmory preferred its berries to be sour, so he was happy to learn it had uncovered a variety that they'd never seen before. Taking a cue from Mrs. Evans's book, Steven slyly pocketed a few extra to take with him to stay on Skarmory's good side, just in case. But after an afternoon of wandering the vast berry orchards, Metang had yet to find a berry that set its taste buds into overdrive. With the rest of his Pokemon happily munching away, Steven found himself seated next to his partner beneath the shade of one of the trees. "I never took you for a picky eater," he said with a small smile. Metang rattled an annoyed sound in return, and Steven had to laugh. "I'm only joking, but I can't help thinking there has to be a berry here that you'll love." He brought a hand to his chin as he scanned the nearby rows for something they hadn't yet tried. As he skimmed over the veritable rainbow of berries, a small gap in the trees caught his eye. Rising from their resting place, he slowly made his way towards the opening, and Metang followed with a curious hum. When the duo poked their head through the leaves, a curious sight greeted them. In a row all by itself stood a singular tree with a trunk as thick as a ride-on, and Steven immediately knew something about this tree was special. Whereas most of the other berry trees had more slender, flexible trunks, the sheer size of this tree exuded a sense of ancient wisdom. "Ah, the Enigma Berry!" Steven nearly jumped as the Berry Master seemingly materialized from out of the trees at the far side of the clearing. "This is the oldest tree of my orchard, and it bears one of the rarest berries in Hoenn." The old master swept a hand all the way to the top of the tree, where a pair of berries hung from the highest branch. Rather than having a brilliant hue like the rest of their orchard mates, these berries were a dull swirl of black and white, easily missed in the mottled treetops if one didn't know they were there.
And you're in luck. These berries weren't ripe until just a few days ago.
Matang hung motionless in the clearing, staring transfixed at the mysterious berries. Stephen caught his partner's gaze and quickly backpedaled.
No, we can't just help ourselves to the rarest berries in the orchard?
But again, the berry master simply chuckled.
Well, they're right now, and I'd hate to see such a special berry go to waste.
Stephen gave the berry master his best, "you can't be serious" look, which prompted the man to nod.
Just be sure to plant one of the berries at the base of the tree. That will ensure it will fruit again in 4 years.
4 years?
I told you it was a rare berry. Now, hurry up before a hungry swallow beats you to it.
And with that, the berry master melted back into the orchard rows with a wave and a smile. Stephen and Matang blinked, stunned from the mysterious exchange, but they quickly regained their faculties as they both glanced up towards the canopy where the two berries jostled in the breeze. Face set in determination, Stephen shared a silent nod with his partner, and Matang lowered itself down so Stephen could climb up. With a soft pat on the top of Matang's head, Stephen looked skyward. "Let's go." The ground quickly disappeared as Matang lifted them up. Near the top, their ascent slowed, and Stephen stayed kneeling for balance as the wind picked up. The leaves quivered, and the branches bounced in the breeze, but the berries clung tight. Stephen reached a hand out, ready to grab the berries as soon as they got in range. But before he could claim their prize, Matang chattered in warning. For a brief second, Stephen's heart leapt into his throat when Matang wobbled beneath him, compensating for a sudden breeze. But his partner quickly steadied itself, and he breathed a sigh of relief as he gave it a thankful pat. Matang's hum reverberated up through his feet as he stood upright, arms out for balance. "I know not to look down," he grumbled. But the scowl didn't leave his face as he reached toward the berries, leaning as far as he dare. His fingertips could just brush against the underside of the berry's smooth skin.
"Just a little closer."
Matang chimed as it obeyed, pushing its magnetic levitation to the limits. Stephen watched as his hand inched toward their prize.
"Almost! Yes!"
Stephen shouted in triumph as his hand closed around one of the berries. Except as soon as he grabbed it, he felt Matang suddenly shift beneath his feet, sending him falling backward. The berry's stem gave way as it bore the full weight of his body. His free fall was short though, and Stephen landed straight on his backside atop Matang's head. Except that his partner was now glowing with a brilliant white light, and its usual hum had morphed into a deep rumble that sent shivers through his body. But it seemed that his Pokemon's sudden weight increase from the surprise evolution was too much to handle, and after hovering in midair for a moment longer, the pair promptly plummeted earthward. Matang hit the ground with a commanding thud, sending a dust cloud scattering, and Stephen tumbling. Turning on its 4 piston-like legs, it leaned over where its trainer had fallen. Stephen's view of the cloudless sky was quickly blocked by a giant silver X and 2 apologetic red eyes. His starter began to grate out a concerned sound, but Stephen just laughed. All this time, all the hard work they'd put in, and at long last, his very first partner discovered its ultimate potential, all for the promise of a tasty treat. Still laying flat on his back and giddy from the excitement of it all, Stephen presented their precious cargo, safe and sound, for Metagross to see.
"We did it!"